Welcome to part 2 of a simple data grid for ASP.NET MVC. In a previous part, I demonstrated how to create a simple grid with pagination and sortable columns. So in this part, I will demonstrate how to add a simple CRUD operation to this grid to allow you to add, edit, delete, and update the information. So to begin, let's take another look at our source code. As you call from the previous part, we just had a simple index in the home controller, and here we made up some data and added the data to the grid. And we had a simple model called person, which contains the information. So I'm going to start by adding a required tag here as an annotation and resolve it to system component model data annotation just to make this ID field required. Oops. And I will do the same with first name and last name. Just to make it required. Now down here, I'm going to use the entity framework to create a class for database operations. So public class, we will call it DB person, and we will inherit from DB context. And let's resolve this guy to the data entity namespace. And here we will add public DB set and person. It's probably not the best choice but it will do. And that's really it for classes. So next, I'm going to create a controller, a new one, and well, let's guess we could call this people, but let's call this new controller people. And here I will have to I will use scaffolding here, but it looks like right. So we will create a controller with read, write actions and views using entity framework. Now, if I try to access my class here, the person class is there, but notice my DB person class is not there yet, so I'm going to have to compile first in order to get IntelliSense for that. So rebuild solution, and we should now be able to see the classes. So person is our model class, and DB person is our data context class, and we will say add. This will go through and it will generate the listing, the read, detail view, the create, update, and delete operations, which you can see here. And I'm not going to go over it, but just know that it's here. And I use the entity framework just to save time. Of course, you could have used other methods of accessing the database, including writing your own data access wrapper. but for the sake of our test, this will do. So let's edit the layout here first, and I'm going to add a link here to call people, and to the index of that controller, and this is the name of the controller is people. So let's compile and run this thing to see what this gives us. All right, so looks like we've got the tab here. What we don't have, however, is a connection string, which we have to add now in order for this thing to work. So here in the connection strings section, I'm going to add another connection string. So here's the connection string in question, which I have again a local instance of SQL database. I'm just connecting to localhost with a SA username and password. Okay, so let's run this thing again and see if we get any further. I'm just going to refresh this. If I click on people here, I should get a list here, which I do. And let's try adding a few people. John Doe. And okay, so this is this clearly works. Let me add a few more data pieces quickly. Okay, so I added a few more names to this list. Now let's compare this list with our previous list that we generated on the home page. And the first thing you'll notice is that our previous list had pagination, but this list clearly doesn't have it. The other thing that this list doesn't have is it doesn't allow you to sort it. And so if you look at the code that this list has, you'll notice that this is just a regular table, and it goes on forever. And so it doesn't have a limit. It's not really a grid, it's just a regular table that is generated at runtime. So compared to this list here, let's take this page for example. So this list clearly has pagination, and it's a lot more compact too. So what we now want to do is to turn our newly created people index into a grid. So that's what we will do. In order to do that, first of all, I'm going to comment this out. And, well, let's stop the application from running first. So I'm going to comment this out. And better yet, we don't really need this anymore. So I'm just going to remove it. And so let's go to this view. All right, and I'm going to change this now. Welcome to our home page. And really, this grid is all I need. And I'm going to go to the views folder, to the people section, and open up the index. And this is where the list is residing in right now. And I'm going to let's move this guy over here. All right, so let's first make sure that we have the same model. People enumerable. Okay. Yep, and we do have the same exact model. So let's initiate the grid here. All right, and so this really is our grid here, with the exception of these links over here. Which I will add in here. All right, and so let's add a few things here. Grid dot column, and I don't want a header for this column. And header actions and format text slash text. And here we will put our actions. Well, a little bit of indentation issue here, but should do the trick. And let's close paren, and we are done basically. So let's try this out. And oh yeah, all this can obviously go. I'm just going to comment it out for now. All right, so let's run it. Oh, actually, I actually should select the controller and then hit run. Oops. Okay, data source must be bound before this operation can be performed. Okay, looks like we got our first error message here. Okay. I believe we might have forgotten in the index of the other page. Yes, we did. Okay, so forgot to remove the grid from there. That's fine. And we really don't need the model anymore either, so let's do that, and let's run it again. Alright, so here it is, our new home page, and we moved the grid in here, obviously. So let's click on the people link, and wow, sure enough, looks like we got our grid back here with the actions this time. And it is functional. Does the sorting work? Yep. Looks like the sorting is working. Excellent. So let's try to edit one of these records. Make this Sean Pencil. Shawnee Pencil. Yep, that worked. And okay, so can we add a new one? That's me. Excellent, that worked too. All right, how about the delete? Are you sure you want to delete this? Yes, delete. Excellent. So it looks like our grid is working now. The one other thing that we could probably do is see how first name doesn't have a space between first and name, and same for last name. Well, we could change that also. So let me do that now. So let's come over here on our grid page, and I'm going to put a comma first name here, and comma last name, just to give the header a more adequate look. And let's try running this again. Oops. Yeah, that was my bad. And run it again. There we go. So now we've got the first space name and last space name, which is the way it should be. Excellent. So that takes care of that. So to review what we did in this tutorial, we basically used our same person class and added a database class called dbPerson, which inherits from the db context object, which is a part of the system data entity um, um, namespace from the entity framework. And here we created a db set of type person, basically to read and write to the database. And then we added a connection string to the web.config file, which creates our database on the fly if it doesn't exist. Now it is important, because I use the code first approach to entity framework usage, it's important that you allow the entity framework to create this database for you. So you have to make sure that the user that you specify in your database connection has permission to access the database and create new databases on the fly. I hope you found this tutorial useful. Please subscribe and leave any comments or questions you may have. I would love to hear back from you. And if there are any shortcomings, I hope I can do better in the next video. Um, we may or may not have a part 3. I haven't really thought of it yet, but if you have any suggestions for part 3, I would love to hear it as well. Thank you for watching.